Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Chapter 12, talking about microorganisms. Today we are going to be talking about prokaryotes again. This is part 2. Yesterday we talked about one of the main types of prokaryotes being the archaea, the extremists, when it comes to different types of prokaryotes. Today we're going to talk about something that's a lot more common. And if you remember the two types of prokaryotes, archaea was the one that was the extreme. They live in the extreme environments. The more common that we're going to talk about today is the bacteria, which is named because of its shape. The back part means rod, like a straight stick. Okay? When we talk about bacteria, it is very common, but there's lots of things that you may not know about bacteria. For example, bacteria have one circular chromosome in something that's called a nucleoid. This right here is actually the double helix of a normal chromosome for bacteria. You can see the two different colors. They are intertwined and they form this circle. Humans, we have these X-shaped chromosomes, and we have 46 of them instead of just one, but that is not what they have. Now, in the nucleoid, you can hear the root word, the nucleus, the nut, the center. And bacteria, because they don't have any internal membranes, remember they are prokaryotes, they don't have a real nucleus. They have basically an area, which is referred to as the nucleoid. And you could see in this overall sketch, you just have this kind of central location for the chromosome. There's nothing containing it. It's just there. That is why it's a nucleoid. It's kind of in the form of a nucleus, but it's not really a nucleus. But it's in that center section. Now on this other area over here, you can see these little circles. These are things called plasmids. Okay, those plasmids are also small rings of DNA. Now, they don't overall control the cell like a chromosome does, but they do help control what's happening in the cell, and also they can be used in the process of conjugation, which is a relatively rare process of sexual reproduction. Usually they don't have sexual reproduction. Okay, so that DNA is there. We'll talk about how bacteria can reproduce, their different methods, which you'll have to wait for it. Okay, something that's good for them and not so good for us. Bacteria have a capsule around their cell wall. Now if you look at the picture, they already have this cell wall that protects it around the outside, but then they have this additional protection around that, which is the capsule. Now the capsule protects the bacteria from things like drying out. Bacteria, as you are aware, can live on surfaces for a very long time without dying because they have that nice strong capsule around them to protect them. Also, it protects them from our immune system. It makes it difficult for our white blood cells to be able to attack these bacteria in order to destroy them. So, not such a good thing for us, good for them. Okay, so you think of this capsule on the outside. They have that double barrier of protection, the cell wall and the capsule. Now, bacteria, as I said, generally don't have sexual reproduction. Most commonly, they have a process known as binary fission, which is where you can see you have the basic cell with the chromosome inside, right here. And what happens first is that chromosome duplicates. So you end up with 2 of these chromosomes internally. Then all that happens is you have cytokinesis, the cell splitting. Okay, cyto, remember, means cell. Kina is movement. So you have this movement to actually split the cells. And what you end up with is these 2 cells that are completely identical to each other. This is the most common type of reproduction. You can probably remember the name because you have bi, which means 2, and fission just means to split. Okay, so the name literally just means to split into 2. And that's how bacteria usually reproduce. Very seldom for anything else. So most of the time when you have a colony of bacteria, a large group of bacteria, those bacteria are identical to each other. And also, that being said, they don't have to have other bacteria in order to reproduce because it is asexual. Now, bacteria as a whole are classified by their shapes. Now, there are these different categories within the 3 basic shapes, but the 3 basic shapes are cocci, which is the spheres, bacilli, which are the rods, and you can see that root word of bac in there again, like bacteria. Obviously the bacilli were the first ones identified. And you also have the spirals with their various assorted types. Okay, some types of spherical cocci you've probably heard of. Things like Staphylococcus causes a staph infection, where you get those boils that are kind of like pimples, but they really hurt and sometimes need to be drained. Nice thought. You also have Streptococci, which you can see at the top there, which is what gives you strep throat. They tend to attack a tonsil area, the throat area. By the way, be careful with these because the strep, if it does not get treated, can travel down to your heart and cause damage to the valves. Okay, the bacilli, you probably see some that you identify there. You have anthracis, which is what causes anthrax. You've probably heard of it. It's a disease that is common in sheep and things. In the middle there you have salmonella, which is a common bacteria to birds and to reptiles. It could also be found in eggs. This is why you're supposed to make sure you cook your food really well, by the way, as bacteria. On the bottom you also see botulinum. This is what causes botulism, which is a type of food poisoning. Over in the spirals, there are less common ones. If you look at the Vibrio cholerae, this is one that is going to cause cholera. Not really a big issue in the United States, but in other countries especially, it does tend to be a problem. It'll make you very sick, and it's usually spread through bad sewage systems. So we are going to talk more about bacteria next time, and you're going to learn all about the rest of the prokaryotes and be able to then we're going to go on to viruses afterwards. I will talk to you next time.